Boom! You'll be pleased to know, well, maybe not pleased. Perhaps not, that's not the right word to use. You'll be interested to know that I am 7 whole minutes late. Now, let's be clear. It's not that I want to, I don't wake up in the morning and say to myself, I'm going to be late. I never do that. In my mind, in my heart, I set it in my spirit to be on time. But then, life happens, stuff happens. Does it sound, tell me in the comments if it sounds like I'm making excuses. And if it is, please forgive me. I do not mean to come across like I'm giving flimsy excuses. Guys, before we begin, please hop on and tell me in the comments below if you can hear this broadcast loud and clear so that we can get this proverbial show on the road. Go ahead and break it down for me. As is my custom, I love to know that you know that I'm loud and clear. And if you could go ahead and use those 2 magical words, loud and clear, following from Kalabo. Thank you. Who's that? Aubrey? Aubrey, thank you so much for being with me. Also, if you could do me a favor and if you could share this live, I'm always very grateful when you can do that loud and crystal clear. I'm so pleased to hear you and read that on the screen, loud and clear. Nellie Bean, thank you. Aubrey, thank you. Let's get into it. Guys, a couple of things I want to talk to you about. But before I go into the Hangala, thank you so much. I see you. What have you said there? There's a loud and clear. Thank you. Thank you so much. Before I go into my main topic, I think it's important at this juncture to mention very quickly that, as many of you know, former Minister of Finance, Edith Nawakwi, recently passed away, and the state has accorded her a state funeral, which I think is more than magnanimous, considering the relationship that the head of state, the political volatile relationship that existed between Edith Nawakwi and the head of state. It's not only commendable, it's admirable. It is admirable that the president extended a hand and sort of created an atmosphere where this funeral turns into not a state funeral, what's the word? A national mourning was declared as a direct result and as a direct consequence of by Edith Nawakwi's demise. And he never ceases to amaze me. The president never ceases to amaze me that even in the midst of this political volatility, even in the midst of political angst, even in the midst of a situation where opposition politicians try to take advantage of the untimely death of Edith Nawakwi, even in the face of that, the head of state says, you know what, let's accord her a funeral that is befitting, and that, the state would be present and the president himself would make remarks. And some of the remarks that the president made, it's just incredible. It's amazing. And I think that we don't give HH enough credit. There are people out there that are busy trying to vilify him. But when you really look at what he's trying to accomplish in terms of unity, especially at a time like this, it's almost unprecedented. I know for a fact that if it were the other team and this thing was flipped, we wouldn't see what we're seeing today. I really believe that. I don't know what you believe, but that's what I believe, okay? So, and then add to that, people like Sean Tembo has said, You know, honestly, I question the mental capacity of Sean Tembo. Many of you know that Mr. Tabo Kawana came out and he sort of hinted that the former head of state may be struggling with cancer, which is not in and of itself strange. We're living in a time now where many people are struggling with that. And as it stands now, cancer can touch anybody. You know, I remember when I was a kid, when I was growing up, you never heard of cancer. You never did. I mean, when someone mentioned cancer, it was, to us, it was the white man's disease. You know, in our minds, we used to think, well, only white people get cancer. Well, this is 2025, and I can tell you, cancer has touched many lives. Cancer is everywhere. Cancer touches everybody. Well, when I say touches everybody, it's either you have it or you know somebody that does. And that's where we are. So I wouldn't be surprised. It wouldn't surprise me if the former head of state is struggling with that or some form of it. You know, and I often say that to me, it makes perfect sense, because if you look at our former president's physical appearance, it does tell you there is a challenge. There is a physiological challenge there somewhere. Now, of course, whether or not Walungu decides to come out and say what is ailing him, that's up to him. But like I often say, we as the Zambian people, by virtue of the fact that he served as president, we, the Zambian people, deserve to know his medical status. We deserve to know that because he once served as president. And so all of this showboating by people like Sean Tembo and by Given Lubinda, by Emmanuel Mwamba, all of them are just creating a storm in a teacup, because this whole rumor would be sorted out with one appearance by Walungu. Just one. Not an article written, not emissaries sent, none of that. The medicine to this rumor that our former head of state is struggling with cancer, if in fact that's the case, one video will dispel that notion. One video of the head of state coming in front of a camera and saying, guys, I don't have cancer. I'm here on a medical checkup and I'm fine. Or it would be more noble for the president to stand in front of a camera and say, this is what I'm struggling with. He owes us that. We deserve to know that because he's a former head of state. He belongs to us. He belongs to you. Okay? He's no longer, he's not a private citizen in the sense that you and I are a private citizen. No. Presidents and former heads of state are cut from a different cloth. Okay, they dance to a different beat. Okay, and they have to accept that. That's where it is. Okay, all right. And Sean Tembo has demanded. Sean says the dumbest things. The law. Remember, Tabo Kawana came out and he suggested that the former head of state could possibly be going through chemotherapy. And then the PF Tonse Alliance camp, they were up in arms. They were furious. They said, how dare you insinuate that our former president is suffering from cancer? It's possible. It's possible. You know why? Because he's a human being. He's susceptible to that, just like anybody else is, okay? And so in response to that, Sean Tembo says they sent some obscure little law firm, hole-in-the-wall law firm. What the hell is the name of that law firm that sent a demand letter to Tabo Kawana? Nobody's ever even heard of this law firm. It's some little hole-in-the-wall, idiosyncratic law firm that sends a demand letter and they want 5 billion kwacha. How stupid, how foolish, how outlandish, how overly ambitious. 5 billion? The law firm that has sent that demand letter is probably behind on rent. How the hell are you going to send a demand letter asking for $5 billion? It's ridiculous. You're not going to get it. I can guarantee you that, because it's ridiculous what you're asking for. And you see, when this whole thing, my experience is this. Right now, all these rumors, everybody's making noise. There's coming a time very soon, if in fact the former head of state is struggling with some physical ailment, it doesn't matter how much you shout, it will come out. Type that in the comments. It doesn't matter how much anyone shouts, because we are all human. We are susceptible to ailments. We live in a fallen, frail state. Any one of us can be touched with the infirmity of what goes on in this world. So it doesn't matter how much these opposition leaders scream and shout, no, shout, President, it doesn't matter how much you shout. Very soon, it will come out. It came out. It came out. Why? Because these leaders are human beings that are susceptible to ailments. Balalwala in the same way you ulwala na inendwala wonse tulalwala. And one day this physical body, this physical shell is going to be so tired that it won't be able to keep going. And one day we're going to check out. We are pilgrims, you and I. We're just passing through. This world is not my own. I'm just passing through. That's the reality of the situation. So don't act as if President Lungu is immortal. He's not. No one is immortal. Nobody. So whatever it is, we will know about it. And no one is going to dispute it. Nobody. And that demand letter will be useless. Useless. 5 billion. For what? Huh? For what? Come on. Don't be stupid. All right. Guys, I have to tell you, the market, this is Simon Lane market. Before I tell you what I have to share with you, you must first of all understand that me in particular, I've been here for 38 years. The Simoson building was first built in 1986. The construction began in 1986. The property was acquired in 1985 from the ECL family. This side of town was abandoned. There was nothing here on this side of town. For those of you that don't know, there was a time, even before City Market was built, Simoson was the first building that opened business on this side of town. In the 60s, 70s, and 80s, the Central Business District, the CBD as we knew it, was along Cairo Road. Cairo Road was the epicenter of economic activity in the city of Lusaka in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. That changed when Simoson came here. Now, the epicenter is this place here, this area. Not just Simoson, no, but this area. So I'm sharing that with you to explain that everything I tell you is not only from experience, but is from accurate observation. There are very few of you that can give the history of this place. If you're from Cairo Road and you've been on Cairo Road since 1960, yes, you can give us an accurate depiction of the goings on of Cairo Road. But in terms of this side of town, I am one of the few people that can give you accurate, historical information about this part of town. So when Simoson was first built, and incidentally, Simoson is the first, or was the first, indigenously owned black Zambian shopping center in the whole country. This building. Yes, it's ugly. We know. It's ugly. Because I know some of you are saying, hey, no, but chibi. Yeah, we know. We know it's ugly. But the consolation is that zero debt, it's paid for. There is no debt on this building whatsoever. So anyway, in 1997, I remember during Wachuluba's time, what we know now as City Market used to be just full of shacks. It was the shacks. All these small tuntembas when Bachuluba came and said, we want to build a market here. Abantu badifulwa ngatwala kuisa ngamwakula chi market pano. Where are we going to go if you build a market here? That was the thinking of our people. If we ngamwatu tamfya pano twala kui. Bachuluba and his administration, the MMD, said, no. All of you are going to move from that space and we're going to build a huge, big market that you can occupy. Instead of sitting here in those shacks, instead of sitting here with no running water, with no proper drainage system, with no electricity, with no toilets, with no shelter, instead of doing that, we're going to build you an edifice. A structure that you can pay rent, but the city will make money off of you. More. They were up in arms. But some of you see, this is why I am a big advocate of recording things. Record them. Because what I'm describing to you, some of you are so young, it is unfathomable for you to even picture that. But that was what was there. I was here before 1997. I was here when the noise. No, whatever kututamfya. No, whatever kutuipa, batuipa efye. Ifo tete tufume papa nchende pano. Emo tulisha bana. Emo tuchitana chinshine. Chiluba said no. Build it. If you build it, they will come. Zambia National Service, in conjunction with an Israeli company, are the ones who built this city market. They built it. And it was beautiful when they first built it. Beautiful. Tell me in the comments if you remember that part of history. When Chiluba and the MMD unveiled that market, the same people who were complaining, the people who had shacks, they had tuntembas, when they walked around the market, yes, we have to call it a market. Are you this is for us? It's got a roof. It's got toilets. You mean when it rains, we are not stuck outside? No? Amazing. Our people, ignorant. They're like sheep. That's why they have to be guided. If you don't guide them, they'll be lost in the wilderness. They have to be guided. Let me ask you, if anyone here knows, City Market is a government-owned market. It is heavily subsidized by the taxpayer, Mr. and Mrs. John Q. taxpayer, namely you and I. Tell me in the comments if you know what the rent is in City Market. Keep in mind, it is 100% owned by the government. It falls under local government and in those days we used to say local government and housing. It falls under City Market. How much rent do you think they pay in City Market? Tell me if you know. I know many of you don't know, but I'll tell you. And no one will tell you this information, only me. I'm the only one who will give you this information. No one else will give it to you. Because it's true. Tell me in the comments, I'll wait. How much rent? What is the rent in City Market for marketeers? Tell me. If you know. Because I know most of you don't know. You don't know. Ndedolela njebeni rent. Ayo balipira mu city market. Nishinga. How much is it? I'll wait for you. 5 kwacha per day. No, it's 3 kwacha per day. 3 kwacha per day. City market. Per day. A stand. Stand, wino fye, na chi table, chi slab, power. You've got a power socket there. You've got shelter, access to water, toilets. 3 kwacha per day. The culture of street vending has destroyed the markets. Why? Because people who trade on the street make more money than people in city market. Street vendors have disenfranchised marketeers because we have a system in this country where the local authority turns a blind eye when it comes to vending on the street, because the street vending has been highly politicized. Cadres know that that is a revenue stream. Street vending is a massive revenue stream. It is a juggernaut. So now, city market only charges 3 kwacha per day. Vendors on the street, you think vendors are there for free? They're not. They pay cadres 50 kwacha per day. Cadres. Why do the vendors prefer it on the street? It's because on the street they have easier access to customers. Zambians are conditioned mentally, especially in the area of Salaula. We have been conditioned mentally to bend over and pick and choose clothes. As we are walking, as a by the way, we as Zambians, we have developed that culture. Salaula. Salaula means pick and choose, randomly select, pick and choose random. As you are going to the office, you see, oh, akuka t-shirt kawa mako. Nishinge yo mami, 2 kwacha, 5 kwacha, oh, thank you. Now, that is the culture we've developed. While that's happening, this city is dying because there's no order. The filth, the garbage, the waste that is generated by street vendors, insurmountable. You can't even quantify it. It's so big. Now, after City Market was built, the PF under Michael Sata decided to build this new market here, the one that we call Simon Mwewa Market. And there's a story behind that. Do you want me to tell you why this market was named Simon Mwewa Market? I know it's going to make you upset, but it's the truth. Tell me in the comments if you know why the government named that building Simon Mwewa Lane Market. I'm the only one who can tell you that history. No one else will tell you. I'm the only one who can tell, because I was here. I'm here. I know. I was in the center of all that happening. No one else can tell you. Only me. Akim says, tell us. You see, originally, this market was called generator Yachtantuan. You see the solar thingy. Hold on. Okay. Overload. What was I saying? Originally, when Inonge Wina, who was the vice president at the time, under Valungu, when they came to break ground for this market, this was many years ago, this was maybe 7 years ago, when they first came to break ground. You see, that piece of land where the market sits today, that whole thing was a big car park that was being used by PF cadres for money. They used to charge people money. That whole piece of land was used as a car park for PF cadres. For many years, they collected money from there. So finally, when they decided to erect a market, and they came to break ground, I was there. The original name of that market was Lumumba Road Market. That was the original name. And that was the name that was at Lusaka City Council. After they broke ground, Mwiinga was here, there were many people here, and the mayor of the city of Lusaka was there at the time. I forget who it was at that time. But after everybody left, I was standing on that land with Captain Mwiinga. He was the district commissioner of Lusaka in those days. And very nonchalantly, I asked Captain Mwiinga, I said, why has the government decided to name this market Lumumba Road Market? Because when they say Lumumba Road Market, Lumumba Road is a very long road. It's such a long stretch. When you say Lumumba Road, do you mean Lumumba Duli Motors? Do you mean Lumumba Comesa? Do you mean Lumumba Family 24? Do you mean Lumumba opposite to Auto World? Do you mean... Lumumba is such a long road and it's so ambiguous. People will wonder, but if it's Lumumba, where on Lumumba Road is it? The district commissioner jokingly turned to me and said, who do you want us to name it after? Your father? I looked at him and I said, you know what? That actually wouldn't be a bad idea. I said, you've got one or two choices. Either name it Simon Mwewa Lane Market or name it Simoson Market. The reason, everybody knows where Simoson is. It gives them an exact pinpoint of where the location is. Unlike saying Lumumba Market. Lumumba is a long road. The DC said to me, Captain Mwiinga, I'll never forget him. He said, Mwewa, put it in writing. Send me a copy. Send the mayor a copy. Send minister, local government a copy. Send town clerk a copy. Send everyone a copy. Suggest that and also add to your letter, add the reasons why you think we should name it after your father. Give the reasons. And I gave the reasons. I said, well, Simon Mwewa served as mayor of the city. He served as governor. He opened this area of business with this Simoson. And I itemized everything. I wrote down everything and I sent the letters. 6 months later, and at the time, Vincent Mwale was the local government minister. I sent the local government minister a letter as well, and we said the same thing. 6 months later, I was walking into a barber shop on number 3 Chaholi Road off Addis Ababa Drive. I'll never forget it. I was walking in the barber shop. Vincent Mwale was walking out. And the moment he saw me, he said, Mwewa, I know what you're going to ask me. You're going to ask me about the name of that market. I've received your letter. It's under review. We'll let you know. No promises, but we'll let you know. The very next day, I get a letter from Lusaka City Council saying, we are pleased to inform you that the new market will no longer be called Lumumba Road Market. We will name it after your dad. Sorry. Sorry. Okay. I'm fine. We'll name it after your dad. And I said, thank you. And I wrote them a letter. And I said, thank you. When the PF cadres found out that the market was going to be named Simon Mwewa Lane, oh, they were furious. They were up in arms. Don't name it after his father. This Mwewa will give us problems. Because one day he will just come in here and say, Tokan market yumo. And it took Vincent Mwale to convince the cadres that this market does not belong to Mwewa and his family. It is simply named after his father in honor of what he did for the business community. That's all. He has no financial stake in this building. PF cadres said, no! Name it! Lumumba Road, Tatrefire, Simon Mwewa on the marquee there. Vincent Mwale said, no, it stays. And that's how the name of that market, Simon Mwewa Market. And it makes me proud every time I walk past there. The road, Simon Mwewa Lane, was a nameless road. We used to pay Chimbokaila prison in those days 1 million kwacha per month. Okay, this was the rebased thing. 1 million, which was equivalent to maybe $2,000 now. You know, do the math. We used to pay the prison service about 1 million kwacha every month to sweep the road. This is Simon Mwewa. But in those days, it had no name. So one day we wrote a letter to the council. And we said, well, why don't you name it Simon Mwewa Lane? Because we keep it clean. And you know, Simon Mwewa served as mayor of this town, and this road doesn't have a name. Why don't you name it that? Immediately, Mayor Chikwerete was his name. I'll never forget the name of that mayor. Mayor Chikwerete sent me a letter saying, we've decided to name it Simon Mwewa Lane. And that's how the road got its name. Now, the reason street vendors on this road don't want to enter the new market, you have to first understand that, remember when local government announced that street vending along Lumumba Road was, well, street vending in general was banned, but the vast majority of vendors operated along Lumumba Road. There were tons of Lumumba Road vendors. There were more than 3,000 vendors along the whole stretch of Lumumba Road. And PF cadres used to collect, they were swimming in money. Hardcore cash. Money that Lusaka City Council never saw. No money from street vendors ever went to Lusaka City Council. There was a criminal organization. It was a mafia organization. It was called the Street Vendors Association of Zambia. An illegal organization that was illegally getting money from street vendors, and they were shrouding it, they were covering it in legality when the whole thing was illegal. Criminals, led by criminals. When Lusaka City Council announced that vending was banned, many of them ran here to Simon Mwewa Lane. They started setting up shop. And I remember going to the Minister of Local Government at that time, and I said, look, you've banned street vending, but they're all running to Simon Mwewa Lane. There's coming a time when you will decide to move them from here, but by then it'll be too late. They would have grown roots. If you allow them to come here, and then 6-7 years from now, you wake up one morning and say, okay, get out of Simon Mwewa Lane. They will be up in arms. They will be furious. They're going to give you a headache. So it's better to make carte blanche. It's better to kaofela. It's better to ban street vending everywhere. Don't allow them to come here. Because the day you decide to move them from here, by that time, there'll be so many, you fail to remove them. They'll start giving you that sob story of, no, this is where we feed our family. You go through that. Council did not listen. Today, 2025, yesterday, Council sent a letter to all the street vendors. Phase 1 of Simon Moore Lane Market is complete, fully operational, water, everything is ready. Those vendors were told, all of you are going to move into the market. The reason they don't want to move into the market, are you ready for me to tell you? Tell me you're ready. Tell me. I'll wait. I'll wait. Earl Yancey says ready. Here's the reason. You see, when they came to the street, on the street, they were allocating themselves huge pieces of real estate on the road, not even on the sidewalk. If you look at the street vendors along Simon Mwewa Lane, they are literally on the road. They're not on the sidewalk, or as we say in Zambia, on the pavement. They're not on the pavement. Of course, you have some on the other side that are on the pavement. But the vast majority of the street vendors, as we know street vendors, they are literally located on top of the tarmac, on top of the road. They've taken half of the road. It's a 2-lane road. They've taken 1 lane. And they've left 1 lane for vehicles to drive through. Anyone that has come to this area to shop or to do anything, you know the nightmare of driving through this street. So what they did when they came here, they gave themselves huge pieces of land. One would come and say, okay, ni kuambira hapa, kupele hapa. My stand starts here and it ends there. When you measure, it's 4 meters. Another person, 1 person. Another person comes and says, oh, ineni hapa, kutoka hapa, kwenda hapa. 6 meters, 1 person. Another guy comes with tires and says, oh, ine matires ni ambiri, so I need 10 meters. 1 person, 10 meters. So you've got a hodgepodge, you've got a mixture of people. Some have 2 meters, others 10, others 5. It's a mess. In the new market, everybody has the same amount of space on the ground. Now, it's important to understand, not a single street vendor on Simon Moore Lane has a shop. They all have a stand, a portion on the floor to display their goods. The size of that space is exactly the same. It's 1.5 meters, 1.5 meters. Everybody has the same amount of meterage. That's where the problem is. They don't want to leave the 5 meters that they allocated themselves on the road. The road is supposed to function as a road. Cars cannot get through. Vehicles cannot get through. Bicycles cannot get through. The road is congested. It's a mess. It's a hodgepodge. Because they've allocated themselves 5 meters each, in the market they've been told this is what you're going to get. Why? Because the market has to accommodate everybody. That's where the bone of contention is. They don't want to be given a small amount of space so that the market can accommodate everybody. They don't want that. Secondly, they don't want to pay rent. They hate the idea of paying rent. They hate it. But how much rent do they pay on the ground floor? Not the shops, the ground floor. 619 kwacha per person. 20 kwacha per day. They give kadas 50 kwacha per day. But the idea of paying rent to the council, they hate that. Tabafua vendor, street vendor, tafua yokulipela rent. They don't want to pay rent. They want to live on the to operate on the street where they call the shots. That's the issue. But the government says no. Get out of the street, move into the market. Let the street operate. Those videos that you're seeing, me shooting those women, recording those women, they are furious that I even do what I do. In the PF, I wouldn't have been able to do that because cadres would have just beat me up. PF cadres would have just beat me up. Just said, not in this dispensation. You can scream, hoop, and holler all you want. There is order now. No one can just wake up and start beating you just because they want to, just because they feel like it. No, man. You go to prison. All right. That's the reason. So they've been given 7 days as of yesterday. Today, 6 days. 6 days from now, all of them are going to move from the street into the market. The street will have a chance to function and work. That's what it is. Do you have any questions? Maybe I can take some questions. I don't usually do this. I don't do question Q&A, but let's do it now. If you want to ask me something, and if I've got the answer, I'll tell you. How much is rent for the shops on the first floor? Yeah, that's a different deal. That's more expensive. But although, I must tell you, it's still in Kwacha and it's still affordable. For that information, you'd have to go to housing. They will guide you on that. And but on the ground, on the floor, it's 619 Kwacha. Mr. Moya, you pay council rates to the council. Is it your responsibility to get rid of the... No, it's not my responsibility. I'm a stakeholder here. I have a business in this community. So whatever happens in this community affects my business. Therefore, I have a say. I'm a taxpayer. I pay rates. We have employees. We pay ZESCO. We pay water. We are stakeholders in this community. So we have the right to complain about something. Why? Because we're stakeholders. Does the market have upstairs? Yes. There's a upstairs, there's shops upstairs. Those are pegged in Kwacha, and all the shops are occupied. All of them. There are no shops available. Everything is occupied. On the 7th day, they're going to remove all the street vendors from Simon Moore Lane into the market. Now, here's the clever part. Because in the past, the vendors used to have this gimmick. The vendors used to say, no, we applied, but they left us out. So if they don't give us a space in the market, we have no choice. We just have to stay here. The government tricked them and said, whether you have got a letter of offer or not, you are going in the market. You are coming out of the street. You are either going into this market or city market. Because here's the thing. A lot of these street vendors already have stands in city market. Already. You're going to the market. I believe that if you were... They won't leave on the 7th day. Yeah, if they don't, council police will come and remove them. How many spaces are on the ground floor? No, I don't know that. You'd have to go to housing to get that information. Do you think the government will play politics with? No, I don't think so. No, not with this one. No. How many markets are being built in Lusaka? I don't know. How many stands are in the new market? No, you'd have to go to housing department to find that out. I don't know that. Here, I can answer this one. What about Simoson? What did you say here? What are you saying? Somebody asked about Simoson building. Ask again about Simoson building. What did you say? I'm not seeing it again. Please ask it again. Why did they decide, this is a good question, why did they decide to give the vendors on the ground floor spaces other than the shop? This is a very good question. A couple of reasons. The first one is the vendors will say they can't afford the shops, but the truth is they can. They can afford anything. The reason they've been given the ground floor is because the ground floor can accommodate all of them, every single one of them. And it's easier to manage them on the ground floor because every single person is given the same amount of space. And also, because of our culture of bending over and picking and choosing and looking at clothes, that's what works for this part of town, is that you'll have a ground floor dedicated to that sort of business. And that business model is going to work very well once it's up and running. How much is rent at Simoson building? Well, we have different shops. We have shops from as little as 5,000 kwacha a month to as much as 20,000 kwacha a month. But there are no shops available here. Everything is taken. The whole building is full. 100% occupancy. So will you be doing your vlogging? Yes. I'm going to be promoting businesses in Simon Mwewa Market. I'm going to be talking to different businesses. There's going to be so much economic activity in this market. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be a beautiful place. It is. It's going to be fantastic. And we're going to do everything we can to promote it. Yeah. Does Simoson have accommodation? No, not here, no. Not for living, no. It's just for business. So will you be doing your vlog? Yeah. What is the procedure of getting space in the market? You go to housing. In the past, during the PF, PF cadres used to take advantage of the fact that they were associated with the council. So they would just hold meetings with the marketeers and say, if you want a space in the market, each of you pay 500 kwacha. Street vendors would line from here till Timbuktu with 500 kwacha in their hand. The PF cadres would just be, okay, write your name, number here, and your NRC. Bring the 500. And they were making money. Hand over fist. There was a river of money flowing through here. So now what you do, if you are looking for a space, you go to Lusaka City Council, Civic Center, Housing, you inquire there. However, there are no shops available. Everything has been rented out. Everything. All right. Derek says, thank you for responding. You're welcome. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. So from now on, I started it yesterday, I'm going to be doing a countdown. So later today, I'm going to post 6 days for vendors to leave the street and go into the market. 5 days, 4 days, 3 days, and so on. Okay? Thanks for watching. Do the ground floor have storerooms for the vendors? That's a good question. No, they don't. That's a very, very important question. No, they don't. They don't. Storage is, you have to look for storage somewhere else. And in my view, I think that when designing the market, they should have taken that into account. They didn't. So, but to answer your question, no, there is no storage in, no storage for vendors in the market. None. Zero. They have to make their own arrangement. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.